When a nigga got a mouth full of BBs, so I'm not a patient, better let him treat me. I gotta be a doctor, how I'm ordering CCs. Go to your place, no face, no case, 99% tent in a blacked out race. I remember hoes used to clap for me happily. Now I'm bossed up and them same hoes mad at me, acting like they ride whole time trying to pass me. Watching me go through it, still trying to drag me. Acting like you winning if you think about it actually. Are they supporting you or really just attacking me? I don't give a fuck about a blog trying to bash me. I'm the shit per the recording academy. Hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shape. Hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shape. Hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shape. Hands on my knees, hands on my knees, hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shape. Hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shape. Hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shape. Hands on my knees, hands on my knees. Drinking out the motherfucking bottle on my thigh shit. Everything I eat goes straight to my pockets. 2021, finna graduate college. Shot her shit, I'm a real hot topic. Fucking on a nigga, make him sing on some pop shit. I need a real headbang on some rock shit. Pussy like crack when it hit it like dope. Got a real hot box, but a bitch don't smoke. Hot girl, but I'm still the coldest. Hey, I'm the big homie, but I ain't the oldest. Bitch dry hating, trying to get noticed. Man, ain't nobody come to see you, Otis. Look, how many bitches lying that they say they boss is better? They really puppets, so I really gotta go at your pedal. I'm really talking, but it really can apply to whoever. My finna free, it'll go after a bitch or a nigga. Take bank, take a little bank, bitch, add it up. Hoes taking shots, but they ain't in my caliber book. But I squeeze a little head in my calendar, looking in the mirror like, damn, I'm bragging up. LB's, double C's, Birkins, I'm working. My chain ain't hitting if a bitch ain't hurting. Look, I ain't even finna argue with this. I know you think.
Hello, everyone. Go for it.
Hello. Oh, that was about over. Hello, everyone. How are we doing this evening? Wonderful. It's a beautiful Friday night. Welcome. Okay, first of all, shout out to Geisha Maine right now for just bringing everything. Yes. Truly. Also, just like the energy over here. I'm obsessed.
Miss Joy.
Sorry, who?
Miss Joy.
Miss Joy is bringing all the joy. Truly. Yes. My name is Kenya Alon. I will be your MC this evening. I'll just be, you know what that MC, you know what an MC does. But I'll be facilitating. Welcome to Soft Cage's first in-person event, first in-person screening since pandemic hit. Yes, clap it up. Yes, this is amazing. We're here right now. We're doing it. Yes, this is Shootin' the Shit. Can we say it? It was censored, so I was like, shooting the sh. But yes, welcome to Shootin' the Shit. Oh, also shout out, this is being live streamed, so shout out to all of the people that are watching us from home. I hope, cheers? I don't know. Cheers. But yes, so welcome to I keep saying welcome. Welcome to City Farm. I don't know if you guys know anything about this space here, but City Farm is basically it's a urban farm with a mission to provide locally grown, nutrient-dense organic produce to Chicago's residents facing food insecurity. City Farm serves as a community resource for achieving food sovereignty in Chicago. They sell food. Everything that you see here that they grow, they sell on a sliding scale. So if you would like to support, they love to have volunteers on Saturday mornings. If you have the time, you should definitely stop by and provide a helping hand. Also, if you'd like to support financially, you can send funds to one of their organizers, Gerard Pate. His Venmo is just that, at Gerard Pate. And also follow them on Instagram at Chicago Farms, just so you guys know, because this is, as you can see, a beautiful space, and they're doing beautiful work here. So another thing to support. But just a couple like quick housekeeping notes while we're all here. Obviously, as you're aware, we've got refreshments in the back there, drinks, and there's popcorn and candy. Restrooms are just to the back here behind the screen. There's also a hand washing station. Garbage, also just to take note, because this is a working farm, and also just to be mindful of like recycling and things like that. All of the bins are marked for like the proper materials, just so you're aware when cleaning up after ourselves, because we gotta do that too, just so you know. And then finally, we do ask if you are not vaccinated to keep a mask on, or if you just feel comfortable wearing a mask, you're more than welcome to, but you know, we're still dealing with those things, so just to be mindful of that. But yes. Oh, also, quick shout out to our event producers, Maya Horton, Cookie Hughes, and Troy Valles. They put all this together for you tonight, and they've done a beautiful job, so shout out to them. Let's see. And then, as you all know, tonight we will be screening Terrence Thompson's Drive Slow, written and directed by Terrence himself. And after that, there will be a Q&A led by Troy, also featuring Yeti, the production coordinator on the film as well. So that'll be, I'm super excited to kind of get down to the crux of this. I was lucky enough to watch the film earlier. It's a really interesting piece, and so yeah, I'm excited to hear about their experience creating this project. So then but to get us started, we are going to have a few pieces performed by Darius Malik. They will be performing poetry to get us started this evening, which I think if they're ready to go, if everybody's ready, I think if we want to clap it up, get the energy going, please welcome to the stage Darius.
Hi everybody, let's take this off. I've done this in a really long time. Got it. Okay. Alright. Hi everybody. Thank you to the DJ. Clap it up for the DJ, everybody. Always clap it up for the DJ. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you, Kenya. Praise to the Most High. Yeah, I am so grateful to be here, and I have 2 poems for you all about just roots and where you come from, because I'm also from the South Side of Chicago, and I recognize that I would not be from the South Side of Chicago if the people who survived long enough to get here from the South did not. So this is a poem about my dear ancestor, Tommy. This is a story about him from last year, and it's called Tommy Escapes the Nursing Home. He must have remembered fresh air, how it enters your pores like Q-tips, attacking anything dirty inside you that has sat and accumulated. The nurse fed him vegetables as if they were ready to unplug him, so I don't blame his eyes for mistaking the sunshine as a reason to run toward the sun. Why die with others rotting in your nose, with nothing being the same texture of your bedroom? Granddaddy's feet didn't feel the silk at the end of the bed, so they tried to take him back to whatever memory he could touch. For a man whose last thought was last year, he got pretty far. The Alzheimer's had already scratched out everybody's face by now, so when he reaches back into his eyes, he can only grab a venture card, tequila, and broccoli. All of Chicago decided collectively not to fuck with my granddaddy that day. The centuries The cemeteries played a stadium-sized jazz chord that promised another chorus as he walked to the bus stop. Nobody thought of him vulnerable enough for interruption. His memories sat and accumulated to their capacity. His brain, a scratched CD, still stuck on the same loading screen. He escaped, with fresh air being his only compass, because who could forget the feeling of skin being refreshed? And isn't that the greatest escape plan of all time? Yeah, that's that poem. That's a poem from my granddad. Yes. And I realize it's also about where you come from is appreciating where you're going to go. And I think that is a part of self-defining yourself and seeing yourself in a new light. So this is a self-portrait piece, and it's called Self-Portrait as Prince, Soloing in the Sky During a Purple Rain Shower. With blood dripping from my fingers, I am making a name for myself. The sounds others have used to name me are outlandish to my soul. Nobody's tongue can pin down the atmospheres in my identities, so I'll carve my sounds into the clouds. On the ground is no place to embrace the electric yellow heat the sun supplies my fingers. Danger comes at the expense of expression, but up here, I've never seen a cloud afraid to flaunt its flatness or shine on a sharp edge. You can't beat the courage built into maintaining your own shapelessness. The slow cook of your history, bringing out the flavor in your skin. On the staircase up to shred the heavens in half, silhouetted like a superstar with a space for myself. And those are the poems I have for you all. Congratulations on the film, and thank you all for having me again. Bye.
That was beautiful, Darius. Another round of applause for Darius. Okay, well, I think we're ready for the main event. Are y'all ready? Yes, snap, clap, woo. So, without further ado, we will begin Terrence Thompson's Drive Slow.
There is a nation which has abandoned all of its liberties in order to augment its collective strength. There is a nation in the grip of ruthless men preaching the gospel of intolerance and racial pride, unrestrained by law, by government, and even by public opinion. Who was Winston Churchill trying to warn British Parliament about? This is 1934. Anybody?
Donald Trump.
Close. It was Hitler. Finish chapter 7 before tomorrow. There may or may not be a pop quiz. Hey, Zach, hang back for a second. This is the third day you fell asleep in my class. And you smell like weed.
Mr. Wright, I ain't high.
Then why are you so tired?
Because I've been staying up late working on these application essays. The prompts are vague.
Nah, you're a good writer. Your opinions always surprise me. But even when you understand the material, I never hear from you unless you're muttering something under your breath.
I guess I'm just better at writing than I am at speaking.
You can do both. You just have to stop being scared to use your words, dude. Okay? Alright, get out of here. And if you're going to continue the usage of certain herbal medications, do yourself a favor. Buy some cologne. Alright? Peace.
How does your environment influence your worldview in 500 words? That shit's cake.
What's your worldview then?
My worldview is trust these niggas.
What, so you don't trust us?
I mean, I trust y'all, and I trust my family. I mean, I just don't trust these niggas. You feel me?
You sound illogical.
You answer the question then.
I think it's a dumbass question. I'm too young to have a worldview. I ain't even seen a fucking world yet.
You don't need to see the world to know how shit works, though.
No, what if a white boy is born into a racist ass family, right? His view gonna be fucked up till he see some other shit.
Look, I ain't got time to give Billy a tour of the South Side just so he can try to change his mind about black people.
Keep Billy the fuck away from me.
Did you really start yet?
Nah, not yet.
It's an easy essay, bro. Just tell them what they want to hear.
Okay, but I don't know what to say.
They want to hear about your terrible South Side upbringing and how life always disappointed you, so they can feel better about accepting you into their expensive-ass school.
But I didn't have some terrible Southside upbringing. You want to be a writer, right? Just make one up.
Don't lie on your essay, Zach.
But that's what they want. Why sugarcoat the shit?
Because it feeds into the racist bullshit you see on the news.
How's the news racist?
When me and my fam went to Mexico last summer, I was kicking with these white boys at the hotel. Bro, when I told them where we were from, their faces instantly went like, "Are you from Chicago? Oh my God. Do you listen to Chief Keef? Have you been shot before? We always hear about you guys on the news."
Man, fuck the news.
You know, they like that downtown too. And my manager came up to me like, "You're so brave. I could never live on the South Side. People like die there."
Don't y'all think we got the name Chirac for a reason though?
Oh.
Are you serious?
What?
Did you just refer to us as Chirac?
Yeah, so?
Exiting the conversation.
Dude, you acting like the entire South Side is a war zone. We not Inglewood.
Inglewood ain't really all that bad. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about.
Oh boy, your ass don't know what you talking about. You live in fucking Hyde Park.
No boy, you live in Hyde Park. I live on the low end.
So do I.
Yeah, but your block ain't like my block.
G, just because a person died in front of your house once, don't make your block dangerous.
That shit happened twice. Look, G, I hear gunshots all the time. So what, you like really scared to live out here or something? Shit, maybe a little. And your ass is too. You go to school downtown for a reason, G. Yeah, I don't go up there because I'm scared. It's just a good school. What? No, your school's not better. That shit's just bougie. You go up there every day to hang out with a bunch of rich-ass white kids while the rest of us is down here dealing with some real black shit.
Why are you so mad? They just saying that people get the wrong idea about the South Side.
You know, I'm tired of people treating us like we a special case. And my family down in Baltimore and St. Louis going through the same shit. Fucked up schools, corrupt politicians, and too many police.
St. Louis and Baltimore? That shit sounds like some All Lives Matter bullshit.
Yo, shut up before I muff the shit out you.
What, did I hurt your face?
Now get your pickle breath ass out my face. Now smell like Black and Miles in the back of the red line.
Corey, why you always acting like a hoe?
Man, shut the fuck up before I smack. Told y'all.
You still staying with your father this weekend?
Yeah, I think so.
You finish your apps?
Most of them. But, I think I might skip one, though.
Why?
Because I'm not finna get in. And even if I do, it's too expensive.
How much is tuition?
$50,000 a year.
50,000? For 1 year? That's how much I paid for my degree. You finish that app. If you get in, well, just pray for a miracle.
Hey, Mom.
Yes.
You ever think about moving?
From Chicago?
From the South Side.
Do you want to move?
No. It's just the way the news makes us look sometimes, you know? It'll never get to you.
From time to time. Zach, the news is never going to see things the way that you see them. It's their job to come here when bad things happen. They love to report about what's going on around here, but when it happens up in their neighborhood, sweep it under the rug.
But why?
They drive down property values every day by reporting about how dangerous the South and the West Sides are. But guess who's buying and gentrifying all this dangerous land? White folks.
So, you don't think the South Side is dangerous?
My great-uncle thought the South Side was too violent, so he moved his whole family to this big, beautiful neighborhood in the suburbs. My cousins used to call me all the time and tell me how much they loved their school, how great their neighbors were. The neighborhood was mostly white, right outside Cleveland. 2 years later, my great-uncle got shot by a cop. I might have some bad memories on the South Side. But I have even more good ones.
Okay, let's clap it up once again for Drive Slow. That was great. That was amazing. Okay, so now is the Q&A portion of the event. We're going to bring up Troy, we're going to bring up Terrence, we're going to bring up Yeti to discuss. Let's get into it. Let's do it.
Just one mic? Okay. All right. Are we ready? Cool. Hi, everyone. Thank you again so much for joining us. My name is Troy Strong Spirit Vallis. I'm an activist. I work mainly in the realm of prison abolition. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Yeti.
Hello, I'm Yeti. I'm the production coordinator from Drive Slow. I'm also a filmmaker, producer, born and raised on the south side of Chicago.
What's up, everybody? I'm Terrence, raised on the south side of Chicago, filmmaker and educator. Prison abolitionists and all of us, we all some abolitionists.
Yes, communist, PLP.
Burn the prisons, y'all. Burn the prisons. No more prisons, police, or prosecutors. I'm just saying. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, y'all. I'm really fascinated by the film. First of all, it looks amazing. It came together so beautifully. Within the film itself, there's this discussion of how to represent the South Side. And I'm wondering if, as Zach is like debating this question, did you have a lot of, Terrence, questions about how to represent the South Side as you were going through the process of writing the film and shooting it?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I felt like a lot of us have had to write those really weird essays for college and just in general essays about where we came from, and when it's a place like the South Side that is a national conversation, debate all the time, like it's confusing, and frustrating because the news never represented what I saw personally, at least the majority of what I saw. So it's always the imbalance that media, has, and I was just trying to explore that.
Was there anything in particular about the film, maybe like a certain moment where you were really debating, like, should I put this in, should I leave it out?
Thank you. Definitely the gunshot scene, because on one hand, also just to preface, like, those gunshots could have been police gun, they could have been anything. We automatically assume probably that some black folks shooting each other, but I intentionally wanted to like challenge people's perception or their assumption of that in the like further discussions of the film. But yeah, it was a real tough decision to include that, but it's a moment that I have experienced talking with my friends about the South Side, how much we love it, what we've been through, and then hearing gunshots, but I do think that is like something more pertinent to like our national culture of guns and not the South Side. And we also know why guns come into the South Side, because of fucked up gun laws, like, so yeah, a lot of shit that couldn't get into the movie, but
Yeah, the news loves to talk when it's black folks, but when it's like rednecks and their guns, like, okay, where are you? But yeah, just to dive in a little bit more into the production of Drive Slow. So just so everybody knows, this was the pilot program for the Free Spirit Media cohort program, which means that everybody who worked on the set, and I just want to double check, was like young, and this was like their first project, right? Okay, but a lot of folks were like, this was the way they learned to be like doing film production. So I'm wondering if y'all would like to talk a little bit about like what was the vibe on set, and like you've participated in projects, subsequent Free Spirit Media projects, like how do they kind of like compare?
Yeah, so multiple layers to that question, but it was my first production where I like actually got to work with like it felt like an actual like indie production. Because before then I was in high school and I did like high school productions, but this was my first like big person production. And I was actually like 18, 19 when I was put on as a production coordinator. And like at that time, I thought it was great. Like it was a lot of work, but I was working with people who like didn't have a problem with me asking questions and like wanting to learn more and like actually like messing up a few times, but like knowing that like at the end of the day we're gonna get through there. So it was really nice in that sense. And like since then, it has been like very like weird because like it was a experience where there were more black people than like I've ever seen on set. There were more women on set in like higher positions that I've ever seen, and that was really great. But there was also just like other things that kind of I guess clouded my judgment now. Are clouding my judgment now, but overall it was pretty decent experience.
I mean, yeah, the pilot program essentially was the culmination project for like a 8 or 10 week. How long's the cohort? Like 10 weeks of like 18 to 25-year-old filmmakers. Maya is also a cohort participant, and the other Amber created the next year's film, which was Amazing Fuzzy Legs. Troy was also, you in the cohort as well? Oh my God, Troy was in the cohort. Everybody was in the cohort. But yeah, it was like an opportunity for our film where our director, or the Lucia, our coordinator, was very intentional about making sure that we were on the type of set that we weren't gonna be on for the most part in the industry. So it was hiring all people of color and women for department head roles. And then the following years, I don't know if that was able to stay as a consistent thing, but it was intentional with the people who were able to produce our project, and we were able to make it happen with a lot of love and resources and,
Community is what he said.
Oh yeah, with community you can get through anything, I feel like. Speaking of representation, so of course there's a dearth of diversity in the film industry generally. There's the Oscars Too White campaign, which has been going on for 6 years now. What do you guys feel like is the strengths of representation as it's been used, especially in the mainstream media? Does representation also have any limitations?
Yeah, I think like just the way the media like puts representation, like they frame it, is just problematic and just not really, it doesn't really do justice to what we actually want. So like when I hear diversity, it's like, oh, we can add a few like people of color onto the screen. And now I'm thinking about like how Netflix refuses to like hire fully black women for anything in any type of role. And it's just like, okay, well, that's diversity, I guess. I mean, you got a person of color there, and they may be a little bit black, but like, is that really representation? And it's really hard now to like actually be heard and represented the way you want to, because it's always going to be like a fabricated, like condensed like way the media wants to present people and get messages across. So like, yeah, representation is like, all right, so there's all these people of color on the screen. Who's writing their dialogue? Who's writing the stories? Who's cutting the checks? Who's giving people the money? Like, let's talk about that part. And people don't want to talk about that part. So like, yeah, like if there's diversity on screen, there should be diversity off screen too, but that doesn't really happen.
Yeah, I mean, like, representation matters, but it's just not enough. And like, I think about, as a film lover, instances where films have like hit on like social justice issues, like Aaron Brockovich is about like lead poisoning, or like there's even this like Leonardo DiCaprio film from like the 90s about indigenous folks and this like The Island, I think, where it was intentionally made to like try to talk about how tourism is messing up this island, and in reality the film just brought more tourism. Like, film has this like grand idea of, I'm making a movie about this idea, and now like the work is done, and it's kind of removes it from how political this shit is, and how like actual action campaign organizing in conjunction with art is like what's actually going to do stuff, like not just the art, so taking it past it.
And also with like the Oscar So White campaign and just that, it's just really funny how like we literally have to beg people to acknowledge that, like, hey, we have some decent directors who aren't white. We have some decent actors who aren't white. And they're like, All right. I guess on the 100th year anniversary, we'll give you like an award. Like in the 100 years that this whole like thing has been here, I guess we can award somebody who's like not white with an award in this category. And it's just like, do we like what is representation then? Like, who cares at that point? Like, we literally had to claw and scratch our way up to there, and it took 100 years to do it. So like, yeah, it's more so about like how people who like I want to be represented by people who are like me, who are like writing these things. Like I want it all. I just don't want like a piece of it. I want it all. Like I want black writers, I want black producers, I want black grips, I want all of that. And I don't think that should be like a hard thing to get.
Black folks above the line and below the line, right? Terrence mentioned campaigning and organizing, and so I was wondering, do both of y'all like organize? Are you engaged politically in other ways? And if you are, how does that connect to y'all's art?
Yes, I'm a communist. I am part of the PLP, Progressive Labor Party. Carol and Dave are right there chilling, also really great. We do a lot of sales of our newspaper, The Challenge, like on 85th, 55th, near Cermak. As well as like do some stuff with the Freedom from Mohawk case. So Mohawk Johnson was arrested almost a year ago at a protest, and he's been on house arrest since then. Like has not actually like gone to like, I guess, what is it, jury or whatever. But he's been on house arrest for almost a year. So he's been arrested for almost a year. And we've been doing a lot of work with that. But with community organizing and like the work that I do, with the pandemic, I had more time to just focus on my community and like become very picky with the things that I do want to do. And it has made my life a little bit easier because now I don't have to put myself into situations where like I have to deal with like the rude grip, or I have to deal with like somebody talking down to me because I'm a PA or not like in an above line position. And it feels nice. Like I get to do projects that I actually want to work on. Like I'm working on a Manifold docuseries, which is about black LGBTQ folks in Chicago just living their lives, and we just go and document a whole bunch of stuff. Like my episode is focusing on like spirituality and divinity and what that looks like for people within this community, because it's a lot. And I think that was really great for me to do in like this period of like a pandemic and like all these social uprisings, and it just made me realize like I don't have to like be stuck with these things that I don't want to do. Like if I want to work on a project that's solely focused on like people within my community, I can do that, and I can still get paid, and I can still make a living off of it, and we can all like get our stories told. So like community organizing and filmmaking have definitely gone like hand in hand this year.
Yeah, I never consider myself an organizer or even an activist. Still don't necessarily label myself as that, but I did help organize a campaign for the first time last summer against Free Spirit Media, the same people that produced my project. So you know, you got to do shit sometimes when shit's fucked up. And so yeah, I'm not an organizer, but that was an awesome opportunity. And Kenyatta really led that campaign, so it was an opportunity to follow and learn a lot. And at the end of the day, organizing and filmmaking do have some overlap, and just kind of good, at least a good experience on a film set is based in community, which good organizing is based in community, you know, like, so it's really the community part like that takes a good film. So yeah, I definitely do feel like my films and my art is driven by my political perspective and how I view the world, but I don't label myself as these things. I don't mind them and people use them. I just personally don't have that idea of myself yet.
Oh wow, that is a huge topic, the Free Spirit Media campaign. I don't know if y'all want to touch on that at all. Maybe like what are some lessons you learned like organizing that campaign? What are some pitfalls that Free Spirit Media fell into that you think others could learn from? Y'all can get into it as much as you feel like you need to, but maybe just in general, what is something you learned organizing that campaign?
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, Free Spirit Media is a nonprofit org that like works to help black and brown youth on the south and west side of Chicago get like film and media opportunities in Chicago, ages like 15 to 25. So I worked there for 4 years as an intern. Basically went from being an intern to production or a program coordinator to program director without ever like really not getting those titles. Like I was always an intern, but I was doing that level of work. And that's how I got to become the production coordinator for Drive Slow, and then the production coordinator for Fuzzy Legs, and then the producer for what we were working on. And yeah, like with my time there, it was great. But it was also very weird because I was like 19 supervising Terrence, who was like what, 23 at the time, like giving him professional like advice that I did not know. It's like, hey, how is it working on set? I know, like we had conversations where you're like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I don't know. How do you do it? Let's learn from you. So it was really weird. Having like going from like Drive Slow to like Fuzzy Legs and then going to the project we worked on, because I slowly like saw the community aspect of what we were doing like go away, and it became more corporate. It became more like, all right, how do we capitalize off these stories, and not like how do we just tell these stories for what they are, and let like people, there was a bug, let people like express themselves. I've been like freaking out. I hate bugs, but it's cool. And then yeah, with the whole campaign, it just like all these uprisings, and when George Floyd died, there was like so many things going on, and I just thought like Free Spirit Media would at least provide like resources and like just talk about like what is going on in the world, because it affects like that main audience of like the youth, black and brown youth, and I just didn't really see that. And it upset me, and I reached out to Terrence, who like reached out to Lucia, who reached out to Jazz, and we got a whole collective together. And it went from like us just demanding like the executive director at the time, Jeff McCarter, to like hold himself accountable and like care more about the community. And went from that to like actually finding out that he wasn't that great of a person. And we ended up getting like an 18-page letter with like incidents of like all the bad things he did, and we were just like, whoa, I guess we're making like a whole social media campaign to get him terminated and get this investigated. And it went from there, and Terrence was great. Like if it wasn't for Terrence and Jazz and like all of us just coming together, we wouldn't have gotten to the point of like Jeff having to like pass the leadership of baton, like whatever he said, the baton of leadership on to somebody else. So he basically left. But yeah, I think overall it was just like, I feel like when we did Drive Slow, there was like a big sense of community, and once who like fucking Voldemort came in and just like started thinking about the money, the community aspect left. And I think that's really when like Free Spirit Media stopped being what it was supposed to be, because it was more about how can we profit off these black kids, not like how can we help them tell their stories.
Yeah, all that and a bag of chips. Just there was so many like red flags. I mean, my experience was amazing because of people that were hired by this nonprofit. You know, like I loved being a part of the program because of, you know, the people there that cared, and separating the institution from like, you know, the community and the things that actually make you feel part. And after, you know, Drive Slow left, or after Drive Slow was completed, those people that I felt at the organization were, you know, were no longer working there, felt pushed out, left for various reasons. So after, you know, it wasn't really a space for me anymore at that, and that should have been enough. Although there were more red flags with Jeff, who is a really, really toxic white man, horrible white man. Yeah. At the end of the day, what I learned most, right? See his name, just like, that's crazy. That's what his name does. It's insane. Yeah, we shouldn't even use his name in full. Give it that power. But especially in conjunction with the whole nonprofit scene right now in Chicago with youth orgs and what we've learned, and like it all intersects and connects. And we've learned that with him being gone, there's progress, you know, but we were not involved in, like, we were not considered helpful. We were not considered, like, we treated like we did a good thing. We were chastised, you know, for telling our experiences and speaking for people that were too scared to speak up, you know, and we were treated like we were a nuisance by, you know, the folks that are within that org. So even after Jeff was gone, we had to learn that, you know, Jeff put people in place for a reason, and the people that we trusted left for reasons, and people that stayed conflicted, they stayed with confliction. I don't know. It's just, we learned how complicated all this shit is and how the nonprofit industrial complex needs to be abolished. I don't know what else. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a constant, and now we see it now so more. Like last year alone, there were so many people who got called out and got held accountable just in Chicago alone, and it's just like, wow. And everybody's like, well, we took advice from you and we saw what you did, and it's like, well, we saw what you did and we did that, and like it's just like a circle, because there's so many things that need to be changed because the system is whack. Like nonprofits need to be abolished, like the prison system needs to be abolished, like all of this needs to be changed and like reworked, because it's obviously not working. Like we were getting paid $8.75 for internships, and we were like, what, 19, 23, 24, like that's not ethical. But this nonprofit is literally like showcasing us and putting our black faces all on their website, being like, yeah, we're doing them a favor. And I'm like, where is that favor? So yeah, a lot of hard lessons learned, but like that's also just how the film industry is, and like this is how it's supposed to work. Like it's supposed to keep certain people down and like accepting the bare minimum and keep everybody else like where they need to be.
Like Jeff was able to like also use a lot of black men to like avoid accountability. So I had to recognize as a black man how white men will use me for these things, and like a lot of black men have been used by Jeff for him to avoid all this shit, and that was like a big thing that I learned as well.
Yeah, masculinity and white supremacy often kind of become partners. So 2020 had a lot of changes, and of course after the death of, or rather the murder of George Floyd, there were rebellions, and once that happened in the film industry, all of a sudden white folks were reaching out to their black friends to work on their projects in ways that a lot of folks felt were tokenizing. Often they weren't offering adequate pay or any pay at all. So I'm wondering, y'all were talking about the system and the film industry. What would it take to radically change the film industry and go from representation to actually radical revolutionary change?
Yeah, I think it's going to take literally a complete 180 shift. Like once again, I think it's the whole thing of like abolishing the ways of thinking that we had before. Like the fact that there is just like, it just doesn't really work, because a lot of times within this industry we're just told to just deal with like the harm that is like put upon us. Like I had a job opportunity where I would have worked on set with like on a very popular show, and one of the questions is, or they asked me like, if somebody were to say something to you and it wasn't like a very nice thing, how would you respond? And it was just like, it was a weird question, because like the way I took it is like, oh, if somebody says something that was like sexist or racist towards you, like what would you do in that situation? And it's like, well, I personally would go off. Like I would have a word with them. Like if they were just so bold as to say something like so wild to me, I would say something wild back. But you know, professionalism and like all this bullshit tells you that you're supposed to like just sit there and like just take it and then go talk to somebody afterwards. And I'm like, that doesn't work for me. Like that doesn't work for, like, we are here to do a single job. Like with Drive Slow, we came there to make a short film, and we did. We came there to like make sure Terrence's story was told, and we did. And there was no bullshit that came with that. I'm like, that should be the standard. And there's so many times where we just like allow people, like there's this like culture of discomfort, and it's like, oh, your voice doesn't matter if you're not the director, if you're not the producers, if you're not putting money in it, if you're not the friend of the director, your voice doesn't matter. And it's just like, there's too much of a hierarchy and not enough of community. And I don't think people really know what community means, because we're still fighting for like representation at the Oscars, which is supposed to be the biggest like event for filmmakers, and that's whack. So there's just gonna have to be a complete like people just putting their ego aside and like letting others come in, but they don't want to do that. So I don't really know.
I mean, communism is a good start. The union like system is kind of weird in the industry. I mean, the hours suck. There's a lot of things that need to change. But this I mean, the whole studio system has to be abolished because I mean, it's just capitalist as hell. The way it's like all cultivated. I mean, and the way people are treated. The machine is just really fucked up sometimes. And I've been lucky enough to work on some sets where I see that there's a more ethical way to do this, but it's just rare. So I'm still learning and trying to figure out I honestly don't know like how to do this the correct way. There's so much waste involved in filmmaking. Like the amount of waste, the amount of shit that I've thrown out, like it's just like it gets to you after a while. You're like, is this movie worth like? But then also at the same time, like we know that the real environmental impact is done by billionaires, and you know we know that. But at the end of the day, a lot of these big ass movies do cause a dent. So I don't know. I just think a lot about how much the whole system needs to be uprooted and how big of a challenge that is, and how I don't even have the perspective like yet to come up with a better way, but I'm working towards that.
Yeah, I was gonna. Oh wait, I thought I had it and I may have forgot it. Yes, I do got it. Damn. I was gonna say something about how shit is whack. Waste. But oh yeah, we cause everybody's talking about like how do we change the system, how do we get a seat at the table and all this stuff, and I'm like, let's just make our own shit. And I see that happening now, like since the pandemic, like people don't want to work 12-hour like hours on set with only one meal, and like you can still get COVID because like the COVID restrictions aren't really like put into place. So like we're making our own films, we're getting grants, we're getting money, we're like doing all these GoFundMes and they're working out so far. And I don't really feel the need to like try to change what's like obviously not meant for me. Like I'm not meant to be in those spaces, and if I am, it's going to be for good reason. Like I'm not just going to take any opportunity because it's there. But yeah, I'm totally down just to like make our own thing. And I feel like this whole seat at the table are trying to like make people see like the worthiness of like black art, or just like people doing things that isn't normal for them. Like it's tiring. Like people do that their entire lives. Like John Singleton made all these fabulous movies, all these great movies, and never won an Academy Award for it, or like an Oscar, and he died like just not doing that. And people are like, oh well, is he a good director if he didn't win an Oscar? I'm like, he's absolutely fucking great. But and it's like that shouldn't be determined on like how many awards some people are willing to give him. And I'm like, who cares about any of that when like we can see like the greatness that it is there.
The fact that we were taught to be grateful for a 12-hour day just because we're able to be on set is just ridiculous. It is low-key, like 12, 16-hour days is normal, and we're just supposed to be grateful, even as a PA. So I'm wondering, we've kind of touched on it a little bit. First, I think we're going to open it up to questions from the greater audience. We also have folks at home watching who are sending in their questions. So please do put in your questions. But yeah, just to kind of close out our little Q&A section, we have kind of already touched on it, but what does a just world look like to you, and how does art figure into that?
Yeah, art is everything. I think I saw a tweet about it or something, how like society has made us think like art, like you have to be good at a certain thing to do art. Like, oh, I don't know how to do filmmaking, so like I'm not gonna touch that. Or oh, I don't know how to paint, so I'm not good at it, so I'm not gonna try it. And I'm just like, yeah, art is valuable no matter what skill level you're at, because you can put a fucking like splatter paint on a canvas and somebody will be like, that's art, and it just doesn't matter. And I think art is just so beautiful in the way like people are able to tell stories without like, I also think like not having art is kind of ableist in a sense, or like the way that they don't put enough emphasis on it, because like you can express yourself in so many ways through like art, whether that's music, filmmaking, even writing too. That's an art form. And I think like something I was very grateful for like with going to art school is that I had the chance to like do many video essays as finals instead of like writing a 5-page paper. And I'm like, why isn't this the standard for anything? Like submit anything in any type of way you want as long as you get your point across. And I feel like I don't know what it's gonna take a revolution for like all of that to change, and for like people just to put value back into just like what actually matters, which is not how much money we can make off of this, or like how much we can exploit people and how much work we can get out of people to get our thing done. It's just like, let's just make a movie. Let's just make a film because that's what I want to do, and I have a story to tell. And hopefully everybody has the opportunity to do that once. And I'm glad like I got to work with Terrence on this one little project we did.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, G. You be doing the damn thing. I'm very inspired by you, always. But yeah, you said a lot of damn. What? How do I finish that off? I think that a just world is one where people feel comfortable, you know, being their fullest and truest selves. I mean, like, that's a just world to me. I know we don't live in that world, so strive to do all the things and attack the systems that I know control and make us feel like we have to shrink and be, you know, something else. And definitely want my art to speak towards that as much as possible in everything I create. So, yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank y'all. All right. Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay. You.
I have a question. So, one of the themes, like in the movie, about like the essay question, like what's your worldview, and it seemed like it kind of went down a path of, you know, how the world views you affects how you view the world. Talk a little bit, kind of about that, like the South Side of Chicago, and how your reported kind of influences how you see everything else.
Just to repeat it so everybody can hear it, he was asking, the question is, what's your worldview? And it's really about like how the world views you, right? And then, yeah, and it affects how you view the world. I think that kind of summarized it.
I mean, yeah, it's like a loaded question. It's just, and it's like, and when people come from a place like the South Side of Chicago, like, it's such a complex, like, thing to try to unpack and work through. I mean, depending on, especially, it's such a broad experience, like, depending on where you're at, the answer can look so different, but you always have that media depiction triggering. I mean, I do think, I didn't notice it until I was like in 5th grade, I want to say. And honestly, in a way, it kind of tracks with like how my own like journey of masculinity, you know, shifted and changed. But in 6th grade, when I noticed a lot of the media, is also when I felt like I had to like kind of embody, you know, a deeper sense of masculinity, whatever the fuck that means. And I tried to, you know, have that facade, you know, for as long as I could maintain that tough and hard guy experience that wasn't me. But it definitely 100% was tied to the media. And at the end of the day, like, it's something that you can try to be conscious of, but it's always kind of entangled in your experience growing up. I mean, like, at least it was for me. Everybody doesn't necessarily have to have the same experience that I did, but it was for me.
I can also, I think what I like most about like the story, when I was like, me and Terrence actually kind of have like, I guess not similar, but like kind of the same ways that we were both from the South Side, and then we went to like a really like, it wasn't even a white school, it was Whitney Young. So like that conversation that like is had with like the friends is like conversations I'm still having to this day, where there's like, oh, you went up there with all those white people and like you're different from us and like you live different. And it's like I lived in the same South Side as everybody else, and also it's just like, it's like how people view you is how like you view the world. And it's also weird because like you said, everybody can view you differently no matter what. So like his friends are like, oh, you're hanging with the whites, and then like you go to Whitney Young and it's not what everybody thinks it is. And it's literally like, it's very cliquey. And like I had that thing where like people were like, oh, you like the white people, oh, you're like trying to be like them. And then like I go there and I'm like the blackest person there. So now it's like, oh, like, so who am I, like, what is my worldview? And it's like complicated. Like you have to literally figure it out still, like throughout like all of that. You have to like constantly like try to figure, like, your worldview is ever changing. And I also think that's a silly question to ask somebody who's fresh out of high school. Like she said, we do not know who we are. Like we do not know anything. But colleges will sure ask you that question, and you gotta figure it out in 500 words or less.
My question is really just like something like, "What was your most traumatic experience?" or some shit. And it wasn't worded like that, but it was like basically saying like, "Tell us about like the most challenging thing that you've ever experienced." It's like,
You really want to know? Maya had a question.
I mean, yeah, just like she says, too many police is the problem, and the problem is police. So that was one thing I would love to change. Instead of too many police, just like police as a proper period. And yeah, just there's a lot of things we couldn't hit on. The conversation is so layered and so complex. So yeah, you could go and talk about gentrification on the South Side and all the fucked up dynamics of it for a long time, and I can't even process like things I wish right now would have included in it. I mean, I right now was just appreciative. Oh snap! I thought that was somebody I recognize in the audience. That is not them. It's all good. It happens sometimes, but yeah, yeah. I feel like there's nothing I could really do but expand on what it said in a deeper way. Do you have ideas, things that was missed? I would love, like, that I look. Ooh, just the smoking scene. Definitely smoking scene. I was intentional, just like the Trayvon Martin was very criminalized for smoking weed. Black kids in general in 2017, before it was legal, even, different climate, different times, and I don't know, just to see black kids smoking weed and not be criminalized was just important to me. So yeah, that was what I liked in.
Oh, cool. You. How does the capitalist system try to convince people of things that ain't true? Yeah.
It starts by the people who are like putting money into it and the people who are writing the thing. So like, it's all calculated and it's all for a reason. So for example, when what it was, Judas and the Black Messiah came out, I had no like ambitions to watch it. Like I really did not want to watch it because it made sense why they were making it, but like it was very telling that that Hollywood wanted to tell a story about like a black informant coming into this black group and getting this black man murdered, and like it was all very calculated. So I'm like, what is really the goal when we are making these movies? Like, and they framed as black liberation, but I'm like, this dude was murdered. And I guess what I got from the movie was that like no matter how hard or like how much you love your community and how hard you work for your community, if you're going against a machine, you're going to get broken down by that machine, and it's going to take like, even if it takes people in your community coming in to help that machine. And that was really icky to me, and that's how I just see all of that being framed within like mainstream media, which is why I don't watch a lot of TV anymore, because like they know exactly what they want to put on TV. And we talked about this like days ago about how like shows like Family Guy and South Park can say and do whatever they want, and then we get like silenced and we get like censored and we get told like, oh, you can't say this thing because like people aren't gonna like it. But I'm like, Family Guy has been going on for like 12 seasons at this point. Why can't we say what we want but they can? And it's because they can and we can't.
I guess two things or two ways I can think of. One, I was recently reached out to work on a film about the South Side, a feature film that's got some talent starring in it. And I read the script and I was really pissed off. Takes place in my neighborhood. It's a white director who wrote it with a black person from the neighborhood, but still, yeah, not my cup of tea at all. And my essential problem with it was that it boiled down or reduced the criminal justice system and folks kind of being victims of it to like personal choices. Like and not like the fact that this is a business that preys on people. The character who is a victim of a criminal justice system, at the end of the day, is like their bad choices are kind of the reason why they're in this situation, and that's kind of the ending lesson in the film. And it was why I was like, no, I don't want to work on this, because like this has nothing to do with the way I view people who are in these circumstances. Like, I don't care like what they did; they didn't deserve to go to jail like for 2 years just because of some personal choices. Like I don't believe in reducing the system to that. And although it's not always like easy to include that narrative in something, it's just it's a real thing. Oh my God, what's up, cousin? That's one example, and there was another, a way in which folks are brainwashed by the media. Yeah, just like believing like in individualism, essentially like the hero narrative is film capitalist. Like you center it around one singular person who is like the key to winning, and like the special person, when in reality like big shit and change happens through community and people-led movements, and which is what I've learned from like organizing and listening to organizers, which goes against the typical like way to write a film, is to heroize one person.
And that's kind of how they misguide you too, or misguide like whole movements, because they tell you, oh, like, yeah, you just gotta wait for this one person to come in and save the day. And so like people in real life think, oh, we gotta get behind this one organizer and they're gonna save the day. And no. Like, you gotta go into organizing groups and spaces and like actually build community. And media, what have you, thinking it's easy peasy beautiful, and it's not. And it's all calculated, and it's all for a reason. Like, you can't, like, everybody's like has this idea that they're gonna be rich one day, and they just gotta find the right person, or like the right thing has to happen, and like it'll all be great for them, because that's what all the rom-coms say. That's what all like these feature-length like mainstream movies tell you, is that everything's gonna be okay. Like Pursuit of Happiness, like you can be fucking houseless and go through the absolute worst, like be on the fucking bathroom floor with your son, but like you'll get that job and it all be worth it. And it's just like, is it really worth it? Like, is that the pursuit of happiness, is finding that job? I don't know.
The other example, I was watching the first of like, there's this it's not Lovers Rock, the one before, the new Steve McQueen films about police brutality in London, but like the first film kind of ended after these folks went to court for being harassed, by the police, and to try to prove that it wasn't injustice. The film kind of ended with like this title card of, after the celebration of like, they, just because they won in this court, they were still like harassed for 20 years afterwards. Like, that was like all in the title card after this celebratory ending, which kind of reminded me of like how movies make you think like, oh yeah, like a single win in court is like, everything done changed. And it was like, they had to add on that title card to say like this wasn't enough, like but we needed an ending, like, so movies just, you can't always listen to them.
Anybody else? Okay, Damon, what's up? This is star of the movie.
So one, Terrence, you are underplaying the way in which you show up and participate in movement space. Okay. I just want to say I appreciate your humility, but I also feel like you deserve to, you also should be acknowledged that you show up in movement in a lot of ways. You may not claim organizer activist, but nobody should have done that. But you show up in different ways. But my question is about like this process itself. I think the film does a really great direct job of making the claim how these institutions and media shape how we view ourselves, right? And so you mentioned, and like talking about the free sphere, that they have y'all all over the place, kind of being tokenized, and not talked about this work for 3 or 4 years. And so in talking to spaces like this, how has that reshaped your understanding of your claim? How has that reshaped your worldview of yourself and your work, and the way in which the construct about talking about violence, talking about this outside, not just all the political learning that you do, but the fact that you engage audiences that have experienced your artistic expression and then get these questions. How has that changed the way you talk about your education?
You would do that. You would do some shit like that, bro. Appreciate you. Damn. Love you, bro. Yeah, trying to make me be all introspective and shit. Yeah, I feel like this film in a lot of ways was affirming is the most like simplest way to put it. I mean, 24, I was different person, different time in my life, just going through a lot, was not really happy at all. And even with the previous film that was not shown, my previous film before this, yeah, was a long traumatic disaster. So yeah, like I was not ready to even continue filmmaking before the opportunity to make this arose from some really good people who are no longer at Free Spirit Media. But at the end of the day, this film just affirmed me in so many ways, and affirmed my worldview, and affirmed, I mean, literally, like it did, I had to do for myself what the character is doing. I mean, and it's the other people around him that shaped and affirmed his perspective in the film. And it's the same in my life. I mean, Damon, Kenyatta, my friends, my family, just the same way. Art really does imitate life in a lot of ways. So yeah, it did exactly what it was supposed to do for me. And luckily it had a deeper narrative that also makes it relevant and relatable to other people, as personal as it is. So yeah, I appreciate that question.
You made a timeless bop.
Anybody else have questions? I know I have a question. All right, you, what's up?
Yeah. I can go first if that's cool. Yeah, I grew up like when I'm like, oh, I grew up on the south side. Like I grew up in multiple neighborhoods on the south side. It's like Urban, Gresham, South Shore. Like I'm Hyde Park. Like I've lived all Inglewood. I lived all over the south side. So like people always like growing up, everybody was like, oh, the south side is just so terrible. Like, oh, it's so violent. And I'm like, it has its moments. Like we saw, like it has its moments, but also like doesn't every neighborhood have its moments? Like the neighborhood I'm living currently is like kind of like in the Loop / Tri-Taylor area, and it's filled with cops. And there's so many like carjackings. There's so many like messages on the message boards being like, oh, it's dangerous over here and this and that. And I'm just like, so this is happening everywhere, but we only want to document it on the south or like specifically the west sides, and it's just like it's ridiculous. And it took a while for me to try to like really figure out like what I wanted to like choose as my worldview, because it's like I could take on so many identities. Like I could be that person from the south side who like just owns the south side. I could be that person who like blindly accepts it and is like, oh, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the south side. Or I can be like, yo, it's a very complex situation. Like it was not roses, but it's also like I have a community of people who I love and trust on the south side. And I'm like, a lot of y'all don't have that. Like a lot of y'all don't have that on the north side. Y'all just have nice apartments. Like y'all have nice places y'all can walk your dogs. Like we have cookouts, we have barbecues, we got like aunties who aren't aunties who live down the street. Like that's what we have, and like that's very special. Like not a lot of people have that, and I don't think that should be like taken away or like kind of put down, because it's like, oh, but there's so much violence. Like there's violence everywhere. Like I pull my like purse towards me when I see a white person who like got on a graphic tee, like, whoa, you might try to take my shit. Like it doesn't really matter where you are, anything can happen. And like as a black person, I feel like a little bit more unsafe in those predominantly white neighborhoods, because I'm like, y'all can call the police on me for anything. So I'm like, I like my community, I like the south side, and like it's kind of spicy, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I also grew up moving all around the south side, and seeing all these different aspects and constantly learning about it. myself. So I mean, it's easy when you have that experience to just know that it's all bullshit and that the way people see it is bullshit and that dialectic is systemic in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, the film, I wish, could talk about the South Side and not mention violence. That's really a much better answer to Maya's question earlier. I mean, like, eventually I would love to make a film that is able to talk about Chicago and not talk about the violence, because that is another story. There are plenty of stories that do need to be told outside of that realm. But before that, I would just wanted to see it talked about the way I want it to be talked about. But we know we got to move, or be a little more creative with the stories we tell about this city.
Somebody who's live streaming this asked exactly the question I was thinking of asking y'all. So the way they phrase it is, how do below the line individuals engender more community minded interactions in a hierarchical film and video world? And I mean, my question is, we're talking about the film industry is hierarchical. A film set is extremely hierarchical, like it's built in, right? You've got like your first AD, second AD, like they literally name it like 1, 2, 3. So yeah, exactly. And just on and on and on. Yeah, he's saying second. Is there a vision, do you think, for a non-hierarchical film set?
Absolutely. I once again feel like that has to do with like how we just see everybody in their roles. So the way I see it is like everybody's role is important. Like from the PA who has to run and get the coffee, I'm like, without the coffee, everybody's sitting there cranky. So like, let's thank the PA for doing that. Let's thank the makeup artist for making us look good. Let's thank the lighting people for like making sure the lights set up. Like, it's so much that goes into a film, and if you can do all of that by yourself, then do it. But if not, like, let's make sure that everybody's treated like we're equals, because we are. And it takes a village to get a film together. And I went to Columbia College Chicago for TV, and that was like one of the like biggest lessons I learned, because it's really chaotic over there, and they do not like, they're just like, their whole sense is just like, oh, it's my film, this is my department, this is my thing, and then that's how they treat it. And if you try to like go into that field or like talk to them in those spaces, it's like off with your head. And I'm like, we're not gonna work like that, because like we're trying to get something done, and if it's like so hostile, which it usually is, and I'm just like, is this a battle royal? Like, I'm thinking like, are we here trying to make a TV show? And yeah, I just have never wanted to like work on a set like that. And I make sure like as a producer, production coordinator, unit production manager, that like all of my crew eat. Like, if y'all aren't getting paid, we're gonna have at least like 2 to 3 meals a day. We're gonna have a crafty table that's really good for y'all, because that's the least we can do. And like, there shouldn't be any type of hierarchy. Like, I'm a producer, but like I also realize as I'm sending people their checks that everybody is important. And if we could have removed them and saved some money, we would have done that. But everybody who is on that set is there for a reason.
I didn't even really think about how much the hierarchy is just kind of there to justify people getting paid more and shit, when like oftentimes they're working just as hard as somebody who's getting paid less. I know as a PA I was getting paid shit and I was working really hard, so like it doesn't add up. And that's what the hierarchy is there for, to avoid giving people what they're worth, and it can be done away with. And I think our set was a decent example of like that energy not being as present,
Yeah. Everybody was able to have an opinion and like state it, and even if it was a goofy one, we just put them to the side, like, all right, let's have you go over here, and it worked out.
Oh yeah, all right. Any other questions, y'all? Oh. The question is, what do they think about other media about Chicago?
It honestly depends on who makes it. So like, if I'm watching something on OTV, I'm like, ooh, I rock with it, because I know somebody from Chicago doing Chicago stuff. With shows like Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, I cannot tell you because I ain't never watched an episode. Shameless. I'm really confused on how like this show is about like a white family on the south. I don't even know where they are, but it's solely on them. I'm like, I've never seen just a white family so lit just throughout the south side. Like that does not make sense to me. I'm like, where are they? So it's really, yeah. But like even I'm thinking of like what's the movie Chirac? Was it the Spike Lee joint that I didn't see that either? But like just even having that name and just like getting a synopsis and watching the trailer, and I'm like, this could have been called Detroit or like fucking California, and you could have placed it there, and it would have not changed anything. And I like you said, like I feel like a lot of films like to focus and like media likes to focus on the violence in Chicago or like some weird shit that we could just dive so much deeper into like what makes Chicago Chicago. And like with The Shy, isn't Lena Waithe not even from Chicago? Isn't she from Evanston? She's from Evanston, so that's all I need to say about that.
She's from Evanston. We don't need to talk about that. Southside is a good show. I enjoy Southside. The Shy, I can't really speak too highly of, but I heard that the new season has hidden some important plot points and they doing some cool things. And shout out to you. You're gonna be making a special appearance. So I heard the new season has some some cool differences. But in general, like I'm writing a television show set in Chicago, and I don't want it to Southside is a big part of it, but the characters in real life, like my experience, because I went to high school maybe at Whitney Young, was always like starting in high school, just being around. And I spend the majority of my time on Southside, but I don't think any show right now like needs to just stay there. And even my film mentions the West Side, but the West Side and the story of how their gentrification works is way different, and they don't get the national spotlight, so they often just get forgotten. So that's another thing I wish the film could really have highlighted and expanded upon, just the West Side's experience and how the South Side is often kind of drowning out, the West Side in a lot of ways unintentionally, which is something I learned from my homie Nikki. Shout out to the West Side. But yeah, for the most part, I don't watch Chicago Med, Chicago PD. I did watch Shameless for the most part just because it had its moments, but it's not realistic in my opinion. But Southside is a decent show. I'm trying to think of other things. Anybody got any good shows about Chicago? I don't know.
Mob Wives Chicago was good.
Yeah, Chicago PD do not watch. They show the police like torturing people like it's good. I'm like, I don't even know. Yeah, but fuck, don't even get me started. But anyway, any other questions? I'm really enjoying having this conversation with everybody. We ready to party? We ready to dance? All right. Thank you so much, Terrence, Yeti, Damon. Boom. Of course. Yeah. I can't even with you. That's so funny.
Well, let's give it up once again for Troy, Terrence, Yeti. That was amazing. It's a great discussion. Really quickly, before all the electricity and fire comes from over here, we're going to bring up Alex Pate. He's the man who's cultivating this space and making this as beautiful as it is. We'll let him speak real quick.
I just wanted to be quick, but I wanted to thank you all for being here. It was a great opportunity to work with you all, to just allow you all to gather here to watch the movie. It's obviously a beautiful thing, right, when we can all come back together again. But you all being here at City Farm, right, whether you know it or not, you're helping us achieve food sovereignty for our city. We're helping address food insecurity here at City Farm. Half of our farm is dedicated to growing food that we donate to mutual aid organizations that we partner with regularly, and we sell at farm stands and have CSA programs that are all sliding scale, which means a lot of times our food's given away for free. And so if you enjoyed the event that was happening here tonight, we have a lot of other different events like this that we try to radically community build communities radical community building, right? That's like we can have these sorts of events that aren't tied to use of alcohol as like the centerpiece, right? That like we can have all of these amazing organizations, amazing individuals who are doing great work utilize this space to its potential. So thank you for being here. If you want to come back and like visit for just like the sake of visiting a really great urban farm, you can come whenever you want. It's open to the public. And if you want to follow us on social media, we're at Chicago Farm, and we post all of our events that we have. Last weekend we had like amazing dance performances here for 3 days, and we have a lot of really great stuff, a lot of really great community building happening. So thank you for being here. Thank you for respecting the space. Feel free to like walk around and enjoy yourselves. If you walk this way a little bit, just like look, you don't want to walk on any rows because that's where all the plants are growing, so we don't want to step on those. But feel free to walk around and enjoy the farm. Thanks.
Okay, and then lastly, really quick, we're going to bring up the artistic director of Soft Cage, who's also helped facilitate all of this wonderful event. Please welcome David Holcomb.
I'll keep it really fast. I know that we're ready to get out of here and start dancing, but just wanted to say a few words about what Soft Cage does. So we're a radical, nonprofit, multimedia production company in Chicago, and we are combating harmful narratives and uplifting positive voices for change. So engaging community in critical conversations like this, and producing radical films. Everything we do is free, so please visit softcagefilms.com to donate. We have a lot of great new work coming out in 2021, so please sign up for our mailing list. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. That's a wrap.